With no wide receiver two and no depth, the Jets are quietly relying on a second-year player to deliver, and we're going to break it all down, guys. What's up, Jets fans? I'm Julian Lacasso, joined by my co-host Nick Perry, and this is the Gangrene Report. If you're tuning in, hit that like button on the way in and subscribe if you're new so you can stay up to date with all things related to the New York Jets this offseason. Let's get into the video, guys. Let's be real. Outside of Garrett Wilson, guys, the Jets don't have much at the wide receiver position. Allen Lazard didn't live up to the contract and is more than likely on his way out. Xavier Gibson, more than likely seen his last snap as a New York Jet. Tyler Johnson and Brandon Smith, although they're young, they're still unproven guys that have potential, but they're solid depth guys for now, but not wide receiver two material, at least not yet. And unless the Jets makes a surprise move in free agency or take a wide out early in the draft, Malachi Corley might be the guy they're counting on to line up opposite of Garrett Wilson and actually produce. Drafted by the Jets in round 3 at pick 65 out of Western Kentucky, Corley was labeled the Yak King, and for good reason. He's built like a running back at 5'11", 210 pounds, and once he gets the ball in his hands, he's a nightmare to bring down. He thrives on quick passes, screens, slants, end arounds, just making guys miss in space as a gadget receiver. Think Deebo Samuel light. That's the type of player the Jets hoped that they would get out of Corley. Nick, what are your initial thoughts on Corley when we got him out of college?
Yeah, I remember we were watching the draft and we got Corley. I thought after drafting him, we were both super excited, like beyond belief. I mean, just from his pro day, from the draft, from what they were saying about him on draft night, from what people were saying before draft night, leading up to the draft. Who was the one that wanted him drafted the Jets again? They were like, "Oh, that's my guy." Was it Rodgers?
It was Saleh.
Saleh. Okay, okay.
And there was a big running joke in the Jets community that Saleh had texted Douglas overnight after day one of the draft and was like, "Oh, we got to go up and get this guy. We got to get him at all
Yeah.
costs." Like there was a big joke about it. Like I think the Jets community ran it on Twitter for like months.
Yeah, that was it. So, I mean, seeing him come out of college, you don't get the Yak King name, like you just said, for no reason. I mean, watching him play is incredible, bouncing off tackles and getting downfield when you're watching him play in college. Because, I mean, I couldn't understand why we weren't playing him last year, and why he wasn't even getting some. I mean, even if you want to throw him in garbage time, when we're losing, I mean, I just never understood why he never even got the looks, got the touches. Was it just, did they think he just wasn't a good fit after drafting him? Was it a locker room issue? Was it a camp issue that nobody saw? I mean, I just didn't get it, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't understand why either, but for whatever reason, the old regime pleaded that they wanted this guy so badly that they traded up for him, and they said that he was their 4th ranked receiver on their board. Meanwhile they could never get him on the field. Nate Hackett couldn't get him open. Todd Downing only managed to get him in for one beautifully run end around, only for him to drop it at the 1-yard line and resulting in a turnover because it went to the back of the end zone. All that said, they just made several excuses for why they couldn't get this guy on the field. But now the reason this is such an important piece is, simply put, we have a new regime, have a new quarterback in Justin Fields, and he needs weapons. We have Garrett, but he isn't going to be able to, do a lot if he's commanding double teams and he's going to have to beat teams by himself. We need a legit threat on the outside, or it's going to be a long, long season. And Corley's skill set is exactly what this offense really needs. That short area target guy who can turn 5 yards into 20-yard gains, that could complement Garrett really, really well. Nick, what do you think? What do you think you see from Corley being in this offense next season under Tanner Engstrand?
Yeah, I mean, I hope to see him being like a low end wide receiver 2 and a very high end wide receiver 3, who is going to have hopefully a breakout year. We saw a lot of trickery in the terms of the Lions offense last year, and I think we will try to replicate that this year on our team, especially with an extremely mobile quarterback in Fields. I think trickery plays are just unleashed at this point. Low end wide receiver 2 for me, meaning he shouldn't be the clear cut wide receiver number 2, because I don't think obviously he hasn't proven enough. He hasn't gotten on the field enough to be that big a piece of the puzzle. And the size is obviously a little small for that wide receiver 2 spot that we're looking for, and a bigger guy who can go up there and get a ball a little bit Garrett can go up and get it, but somebody who's like big, get that size. To me, a high end wide receiver 3 makes the most sense. Whether we make a big splash in a trade somehow or a draft a clean cut wide receiver number 2, somebody like Tet. He doesn't need to blow us out of the water, like you said, with his stats, which is turning that 5 yard pass into that 20-yard gain. Which he can do. It can be a major contributor in the offense on a much lacking wide receiver room. I mean, hopefully we saw the trick play last year. I mean, it worked. It's not that it didn't work, and he has the speed to do it, and he just needs to get that little bit more time, and I'm hoping hopefully he does break out and be a whole wide receiver too. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, like, he doesn't need to be like 1,000-yard receiver, right now, but, if he can give the Jets 50 to 60 catches, 600, maybe even 700 yards, and be a reliable player on third downs, that's a huge win for the Jets, especially if we can continue to add pass catchers to supplement this roster in the draft, So my biggest question here is Malachi Corley ready to now take that big step? That's kind of going to be the big question going in. We didn't see a ton of him his rookie season, but, with a new coaching staff, new OC coming in from the explosive Lions offense that we keep mentioning, and a full offseason to prepare, the opportunity is there for him. So if Corley does break out, it completely changes the dynamic of this offense. If he doesn't, though, the Jets better hope, a Tyler Johnson, or we get some kind of rookie to come in and be a pass catcher that can step up for us, or it's going to be Garrett Wilson versus the world. So Jet fans, what do you think about this? Is Malachi Corley ready to be someone with a bigger role in 2025? Or do the Jets need to make another move at wide receiver? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe if you're new. And as always, guys, go Jets.